It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Vayigash, Come Together. We know that very often Vayigash either falls on Shabbos Chanukah or it's right after Shabbos Chanukah, as it is this year, right after Chanukah. So we find a theme both in Chanukah and particularly in Parshat Vayigash of coming together. Parshat Vayigash, after all, is what? Vayigash Elav Yehuda. Yehuda approached him. Who's him? He is Yosef. Yehuda approached Yosef. The two great giants, the Judah leader, eventual father of the eventual Messiah, eventual King David, approaches Yosef, who's the father of the first king of Israel, the last Joseph, king of Israel, the Messiah, son of Joseph. That's Yosef. The two come together, and then they all embrace. The brothers speak to each other, and they have this reunion in this parsha. It's the great moment of reunion is this parsha. And then even Yaakov comes down, and they're all together. Unfortunately in Egypt, but they're all together. The Sfat Emet, the great Rebbe, he said over and over again as a major theme, both in Chanukah and in Parshat Vayigash, is the notion of the coming together somehow of Yehuda and Yosef. You could look at the Chanukah, this Sfas Emes doesn't say, but it's the notion of Kehuna and Malchus, the notion of the priesthood, which is the Chashmonaim, and Malchus, kingship, which is supposed to be Judah, but it comes together all in one under the Maccabees. So there is a certain coming together just in Chanukah itself of the different forces. One might suggest that Yehuda is Malchus, Yehuda is kingship, and Yosef is the tzaddik. It brings together the king and the tzaddik, the king and the great righteous one, Yosef, the great tzaddik. Sfas Emes, however, mentions a number of different themes. Let's look at the different themes. I always find it interesting what the Sfas Emes repeats. The Sfas Emes is organized according to different years. I think he started around 1870, and it continues till about 1920. And each year you can see what he says. What did he say in Tarlad? What did he say in these different years? And I always find it interesting, a theme that recurs, a thought that he really harped on. And one such theme is what the Chidush Harim had taught him, that Yosef and Yehuda correspond to Halal and Hodah. Yosef and Yehuda correspond to the two themes of Chanukah. Somehow Hallel, Thanksgiving, as maybe Yosef, and then Hoda'ah sounds like the word Yehuda. Yehuda comes from Thanksgiving. But let's look at it more particularly. He says, after all, what's Yosef? Yosef is greatness, but Yehuda is Hachna. Yehuda is like water. Yosef is Eish. Beit Yosef Eish. Yosef Lehava. Yosef is like a fire against Amalek, against the wicked, and Yehuda is like water because he represents Torah. Because in our parsha, he sent forth lahorot lefanav. He's sent forth to teach Torah in Egypt before the Jews get there, to set up schools for the children when they get there. So Yehuda is Torah. Yosef is Eish, fire of Joshua, the first conqueror of Israel. And they come together. The fire and the water, they come together. The Jewish people are one. They come together. Another suggestion he has is that Yehuda is the body. After all, the king of Israel, the body, is where he worries about the parnasa, as the Gemara in Brachos talks about. He wakes up in the morning and says, what are we going to do? The Jews don't have enough food. We're going to have to come up with new territories, new possibilities. So he's the body of Israel. And Yosef is the neshama. Because Yosef did this incredible thing of, when no one was looking, he withheld his Yetzer Hara. He is this tremendous neshama. He's a tzaddik. This notion of coming together, Sfas Emes brings to the fore in another way, not so much Yosef, Yehuda, but all the tribes come together. Because Yaakov is Torah. Yaakov represents Torah, Emes, truth, Torah. And then he has 12 children, but really 13 in a way, because depending if you count the two tribes, if you count Yosef as having two, so then it's 13. So in some ways there are 13 tribes, and there are 13 principles of interpretation. So in a very pluralistic sort of idea, the Sfas Emes says that, yeah, Yaakov represents Torah, but there are 13 ways you can understand the Torah, right? And therefore they come together in one nation that it has all the 13 interpretations. The Sfas Emes also suggests that maybe one represents the Eitz Hadas and the Eitz HaChaim. After all, the land of Israel is where the Gan Eden was, and somewhere around there, and in the Garden of Eden there is the tree of knowledge, tree of life. As we said, Yehuda represents Torah, and therefore Das, knowledge. He's the tree of knowledge, and Yosef represents Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life, and they come together. The two come together. There was a fear that someone would eat from both trees and they would live forever. The two represent this ultimate combination of the two great powers of Torah and life all together. The Sfas Emes says, well, what happened on Hanukkah? Well, two of the things that were the Greeks particularly focused on, especially according to some of the later versions of Hanukkah, was the bris. They tried to annul the bris, and they also tried to annul Torah. So therefore, what Yosef represents bris because he guarded his private parts, not to use them in any inappropriate way with someone else's wife. So he was one who was in the hidden way, when no one was looking, areas that one doesn't look at. He's in charge of that. That's Yosef represents that Kabbalistically as well. He represents the Yesod. He represents having to do with modesty and things like that. And Yehuda he admitted in front of everyone that he did the wrong thing. So Yehuda, also in our parsha, gives a magnificent speech. He's all about speech. Speech is something that's out in the open. So it brings together the two things that the Greeks were trying to destroy. They were trying to destroy a Rosh Chodesh, which has to be pronounced with words. They're trying to destroy the bris, which is private. Yehuda is the words, and Yosef is the bris. One might argue that the menorah itself brings together these different elements. The menorah represents different branches of wisdom, or the Vilna Gaon and mystical ideas. The menorah represents the 7 branches of knowledge. But Mikshat menorah, all the cups and the bulbs on the menorah, they're all of one cloth, of one piece of gold. One piece of gold, because they all together, the 7 branches, but they all come together, perhaps in the central branch, or just they're all made out of one branch. The Tzror Hamor, the great Spanish and Portuguese and North African commentator, said the whole Mishkan is about oneness, because after all, God is one. And it also unites the Jews together. It brings different elements together. The ketores means, in Aramaic, ketar means to tie together. It brings together all the different elements of the Jewish people and everything together. So that also, the menorah brings everything together. Hanukkah brings everyone together. And after all, Yehuda Maccabee said, Mila Shem Eli, gathered together all those Jews who were passionate about the Torah. Ultimately, in order to have Geula, in order to have redemption, we need to bring all the elements together. The Jewish people have to be united. And that's what the Parsha is all about. How do I know? Because the Haftorah is always what the Parsha is all about. And the Haftorah is a selection from the end of Yechezkel 37, where there it talks about this miracle that Yechezkel was to do, or to take a stick with Yehuda on it and his friends, and Yosef and his friends, puts the 2 sticks together in his hands, and with that they become one. As a miracle, they become one, because there will no longer be the tribes of Judah in the south, tribes of Israel in the north. They'll all be one. David Avimelech, there'll be one king, one shepherd for everyone, and everyone will keep the Torah, because the Torah is the ultimate bringer together, the ultimate uniter of the Jewish people. And David Avdi Nasilam, David, my servant, will be a leader for them forever. So the Torah in general is all about bringing people together. Hanukkah, this parsha, it's all about come together. Come together, as the famous song goes, come together right now. It's a parsha and haftorah, and it's a holiday where we try to bring all the forces of good together. And with that, hopefully, we can redeem the world. Thank you for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation for our discussion of the Vayigash and to some degree Hanukkah as well. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you. So sponsorships are available for those who are interested. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.